If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e., stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So, how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our CDM.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. Sir, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Todd. Always a pleasure.
So I wanted to have you on multiple reasons. I want to talk about the cartels, but
Okay.
General Cavoli and General Langley testified in front of the Armed Services Senate Armed Services Committee, and they essentially went against the president's policies pretty forcefully. How does a senior military officer get away with that? I mean, to me, they should be removed immediately. What say you?
Well, they won't get away with it. They will be removed. The president's already removed several. Just removed a female colonel for being woke. I think she's out of NATO or someplace. So basically, they're looking at each general officer, senior officer across the board, and those that are not complying with the new rules and regulations, they will be retired early or sent from active duty to retirement.
So General Cavoli, who's the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, he's the head of European forces for the American, armed forces. He was rah Ukraine. The Russian army is getting destroyed. Ukraine is much more capable. It was just a lie. I found it conduct unbecoming. I mean, you're lying to Congress essentially, and then you're going against peace in the region. Do you have any thoughts on the Ukraine conflict?
Well, I certainly do. It needs to come to an end rather shortly. And I understand one of Trump's advisors is in Moscow today. I think Putin's willing to end this thing, and he will keep the four eastern provinces that are pro-Russian. I think Zelensky will pass, get off stage, and they'll have to put a new leader in Ukraine. But NATO and the Europeans, not all of them, are still pushing for Ukraine to continue the war. And that's how, when you look at NATO and you look at these European countries, most of the people are not for supporting this war. And you remember Moroni of Italy, she says, I'm not sending any Italian soldiers to Ukraine. So they're not in good shape over this thing, but it's got to come to an end very soon.
Well, we played a few clips of the cemeteries in Kiev. I mean, it's just horrific.
Oh, it's horrible.
I mean, hundreds of thousands of young men there. We showed another video of them snatching a guy below draft age off the street.
Yes.
I mean,
that's what
they're pulling.
That's what they've had to do. That's what they've had to do. Yeah, that's how bad it is. And another, I don't know what it is, Todd, but almost 15 million, as I understand, citizens of Ukraine have left Ukraine for other countries.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I know a lot of them here, and I've confronted some of them. They're like, why don't you keep supporting Ukraine? I'm like, dude, it's your country. Yeah. Get over there if you want to fight. I don't want to send my boys over there,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just unbelievable. This needs to end. I mean, it's sickening, the death. I think it's a depopulation agenda, frankly, because it's death on both sides.
Well, it's a money laundering operation. But Todd, another thing too, I got a report last week that there were 4 Americans in a armored vehicle that were not found. They don't know where they are. Have you heard anything about that?
That's not the one in the Baltics, is it? That went in the swamp?
No, this was actually on the battlefield of Ukraine. I saw a picture of it, and they were missing.
No, I haven't.
Of course, that was followed up by the Chinese mercenaries working for the Russians that were captured by the Ukrainians.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard. What were these guys mercenaries on the U.S. side, or were they
No,
act
they were regular Army soldiers, from what I understand. Of course, we
really?
have some over there. They're working in an advisory role,
Right.
particularly how to use the new weapons and advising the Ukrainian forces on that.
Hmm.
But this was like a maintenance armored vehicle that I saw where the four Americans were
I
working,
see.
probably going out to repair tanks or whatever. Who knows?
I need to look that up. Well, you're a former. What branch were you in? You were you infantry?
Infantry.
Okay. What about, I was asking Eric Prince the other day this question. What about all these armored vehicles? I have family that is on an armored vehicle in the U.S. Army, and I'm
Mm.
concerned they're more targets than anything now.
Well, they
Um,
really are.
mhm.
Yeah,
How do
from the
we?
air and on the ground.
Well, the drone warfare and all of that. How do you? What? How do we evolve from that so that these guys aren't sitting ducks?
Well,
Depending on.
we've continued with the World War II air ground operations. We haven't adjusted greatly into the new warfare, which is space. China's into that big time. Our
Hmm.
Space Command is supposed to be building towards our space capability. So the future of war will be from the air mainly, drones and rockets and missiles and so on.
Hmm.
And we'll still have ships at sea, of course, to keep open the sea corridors, like we're trying to do in the Red Sea right now, and other areas. But we're really concerned now about these ports that the Chinese are establishing. It looks like we've taken away Panama Canal from the Chinese,
Hmm.
and it will be in U.S. hands or control. We're trying to get 850 acres off of Chile that the Chinese want for a deep water port called Copia, COPIA.
Yes.
And there we want to basically coordinate with the Chilean government to put in a deep sea port as well as an air base or a base and
Hmm.
perhaps a spaceport down there. So that's in the works right now as well.
Well, we have to confront the Chinese Belt and Road for sure.
Yeah,
My sense is China's, and I'm getting off the cartel topic that I brought you on, but my sense
sure.
is China is very weak right now economically, and it's a Ponzi scheme. And so they may lash out. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I think right now, because of tariffs, the Chinese, as Xi Jinping and his economists, are uh, they're sort of like this. What are we going to do? This
Hmm.
Trump doesn't stop, man. He keeps going on. But
Yeah,
Trump understands the Chinese and he knows the art of the deal. And so the Chinese are going to have to adjust. They're not in good shape. The Chinese are the biggest losers on this, and
they
Trump
are.
knows that.
Yeah.
Their economy is not in good shape. Their housing industry has almost crashed the economy over there. And also, I heard yesterday these Chinese freighters, ships,
Mhm.
transporters have left Chinese harbors last week, and now the tariffs are on, and they have to turn back or go somewhere. But nobody's going to buy their cheap goods, especially like in Europe or other places. So we're
Wow.
the biggest buyer of these cheap Chinese goods.
Well, I had Michael Yan on earlier in the week. He's down in Panama, and he said his buddy bought a Chinese ladder, stepped on it the first time, and it cracked, and the step went through, and he almost broke his leg. So, I mean, it's just garbage stuff. I mean, that's what I don't buy that crap anymore. I don't buy anything from China. I
No, I
mean,
will not either. If I have to order
yeah,
anything off Amazon, I'm going to ask them, is this made in China or not? I'm not going to buy any. A lot of the stuff you
yeah,
get on Amazon has been made in China. A lot of the cheap stuff.
yeah, or
So,
it's been shipped to Mexico and made there, and that's what I think
yeah,
Trump is trying to stop.
right.
Can you hold on for one more segment?
Sure.
Okay. We'll be right back with the skiff and General Valley. Welcome back to the skiff. Sir, where are we on ripping the DEI out of the military, in your opinion?
Making great strides, and all of those officers who've been politicized by Obama
Hmm.
and the Biden crew, they're day by day being eliminated or forced to retire. And so, even down to the academies now, they haven't replaced the superintendents at our academies yet,
Hmm.
who've been guilty of forcing CRT and DEI. I understand there are remnants still, like at the Air Force Academy, that they need to rub out
Yeah.
and take out of action. So it's not over yet, but it was so deeply penetrated in our organizations and in our troops, and some of them bought off on all the wokeism and CRT and DEI,
Hmm.
critical
Hmm.
race theory. So it's a process. It'll take a while, but I would say within a month or two, it's going to be gone completely out of these organizations,
Wow.
or the people that continue to support it will be gone.
Well, that's optimistic. Hope you're right. Let's move to Europe, not Ukraine, but NATO. Poland we're talking about pulling 10,000 troops out of Poland. Do you think Trump is kind of withdrawing from NATO at this point, or lessening our commitment? What are your thoughts?
Well, since I was in NATO years ago in a division in Germany, we've seen now within the last 10 and a half years a withdrawal of our forces from Europe, particularly from Germany, where we had the bulk of our units stationed, armor, infantry, maintenance, aviation, and so on. So I would think that Trump will do everything he can to withdraw as many of our troops from these forward bases that we don't need anymore, and are very costly, by the way. And
Yeah.
so to reduce the Pentagon budget, they're going to have to do that. Let's bring our troops back. Let's establish a strategy that I developed for Trump called the lily pad strategy, which basically is a joint force type operation that we'll use on the cartels, by the way, where
Hmm.
we can actually pick our targets that are a threat to the United States, and we can engage them in different ways rather than have all these expensive forward bases. And we can launch from our own land. We can launch from what I call black bases, sea bases that are there, that are put in temporarily in different countries to launch an operation.
Hmm.
So this whole new forward joint strikes strategy, as I call it, needs to be implemented.
Interesting. Well, so you think Trump will stay in the alliance, just in a different fashion? Is that kind of what you see?
I think it'll play out over this year, but I think gradually there's no need for NATO anymore. Russia's not going to attack any of these countries. That's all media propaganda. He
Yeah.
has no designs to take over a grand empire anymore. And I think he'll be satisfied to get the pro-Russian eastern provinces of Ukraine, and that will be it. Russia is doing better than the Western media reports. It's interesting, Todd. The U.S. media or the Western media, even in Europe, never has a Russian on their television interviews.
True.
Notice, even Fox News, they never bring a Russian on to discuss the Russian side of this whole situation in Ukraine. Uh,
Interesting. Yeah.
you have to go to Russian television to watch it.
Russian TV has been calling me for interviews. I'm considering that.
Yeah, I do. I don't. It's a great way to get our exposure over there. But they're the largest media in the world now. And a lot of people don't know that. Bigger than BBC, ABC, CBS. I've been in their headquarters outside of Moscow. They have the biggest audience in the world now.
That's because of the diaspora around the world. The Russian-speaking people is essentially.
Well, no, they're actually they broadcast in the languages for their target areas.
Oh, I see
Like
what you're saying.
Turkey TV is all English speaking. Most of them are for London, by the way.
Hmm.
Then you have a whole focus of Russian TV on the Middle East and then on the Far East. So for the Far East, they'll have Chinese, Japanese, and so on. They're on the staff. They have a very large staff of Russian television.
Yeah, yeah. What about Asia? What do you see? And I'll get to the cartels last, but China, we mentioned, may lash out. I mean, they're doing a lot of exercises around Taiwan, throwing up propaganda of
Right?
landing ships and all this kind of stuff. My sense is they're not strong enough. But if Xi feels like I think Xi could lose power
Yeah,
in the next
good.
year or two. Where do we go from here in Asia?
Well, we're prepared over there to a degree with the air and land forces we have over there. We still have Marines in Guam, but you have to understand also, three or four of the militaries in that area are some of the tops in the world. For example, the Japanese have a very fine military. South
Mhm.
Koreans have a very fine military. The Taiwanese have a fine military. So they're very strong and they're weaponized. And they're watching. Of course, they're afraid too. China's very big, but keep in mind, China hasn't fought a war for a very long time, though they have a lot of advanced systems in that, but they're not war tried in any way or war experienced. So there's some negatives there with the Chinese armed forces, but they're very powerful, and they've got into space quite a bit as well. space launch weapons.
You wonder if the weapons that they built with all the failure in their other products might just not work very well.
That's right.
So
you don't know until you use them, right?
Well, exactly, and it's not just the weapons working; it's the coordination, it's the manpower, it's the training, it's the sophistication of how to deploy such advanced technologies. Do you think they'll stop? Do you think Trump will cut off the flow of theft from intellectual property and designs of all our military equipment? I mean, you look at the new fighter. I mean, it's insane. It's exactly what we built.
He's actually directed, I understand, our defense industry companies like Raytheon and the others that they really put in all of the barriers that they need to prevent from cyber attacks on our, not only on our, some of our antiquated computers, as Elon Musk has found in many of our government organizations. They put in these systems decades ago, and they've tried to improve them, but they're none of them like a postal office or whatever, or up to date. They can't even talk to each other, and that's why we need a major technological advance on our computer systems. AI will help a lot as well. That's being introduced.
Well, I mean, let's spend some more money.
It'll cost money, no doubt about it. But hopefully, take it from all. Did you see there were 9 office buildings just sold by the government last week?
I didn't see that, but I saw some.
They weren't occupied. Nobody was in them working. They're just sitting there. These massive buildings.
Wow. Amazing.
Excuse me.
Well, let's talk cartels. I mean, there's been a lot of smoke that drone attacks, SF attacks on the cartel leadership and their infrastructure. Where does it stand right now, since the border is closed, and with that conflict, and where do you see it going?
Well, as I understand it, we're conducting daily intelligence operations, surveillance operations on the 5 provinces where the cartels are. They're looking down and they're looking at the traffic, where the movement is coming out of the cartel locations, the factories. So through overhead intelligence and on the ground intelligence, we're building a map now. If we have to go in, which I think we will, and basically take out their ability to operate, and then the Treasury Department to also take out their transfer of international monetary funds in the banking system. So that's going on. So I would think that we'll probably send in some drones, take out the factories, the Reapers, the Grim Reapers that we have. We'll take out the factories and
Like
the locations.
Factories, is that what you're talking about?
Factories, the factories down there, as well as these compounds that they work out of. We know where they are. We do have special forces down there now working with the Mexican Marinas, who are the Marines. And they're very good. They can be trusted, whereas the rest of the Mexican military is very much
infiltrated
by the cartels, as well as the Mexican government.
Yeah, of course. Well, we'll stay on that story. What about Moscow? Witkoff's over in Moscow. The special envoy met with I think Witkoff as well in Washington a week or so ago.
Yeah, he's there now.
Yeah, so where do you see this? It's the 3rd meeting with Witkoff and Putin directly. Some say Putin is dragging his feet, trying to get more territory. I mean, what say you?
He doesn't want more territory, that's for sure. He only wants the 4 pro-Western provinces that he has under control now. They still have Ukrainian units out there. They still have drones and other airborne weapons being fired at Russian installations, electrical plants, and so on. So Ukraine doesn't seem to want peace. They just want to keep pushing it. So I don't know what's going to happen with Zelensky. If he's replaced by somebody, that would be good, that has some common sense. But the Russians have stood their ground. They've got those 4 pro-Western provinces. That's all they want. They don't want any more. But if you keep pushing Putin too much and you start hitting some of his critical bases, he's going to respond 10 times the capacity that we've seen so far.
Well, the news came out this week. I don't know if you saw the images. I'm sure you did, of General Cavoli and others in Wiesbaden in their command and control cell, which the New York Times talked about. And then General Zaluzhny, who was the previous Ukrainian commander, now in the UK, probably working with MI6. But, he dropped on his Facebook channel pictures of that cell in Wiesbaden. with the American forces running the war. And the New York Times said, General Cavoli was on the radio talking to troops on the front line, telling them what to do.
Yeah.
So how do you see that impacting everything?
Well, it impacts it every day. It impacts the ability of the movement towards a settlement. And that's what Trump wants to see. No more killing of all these young men and women
Yes,
on both sides and civilians. Like you said, the grave sites are immense in Ukraine right now.
yeah.
So it's a day by day thing. And if Ukraine comes to its senses, this thing will end. But I think it's on the Ukrainian side right now. Putin wants an end to it. He has other
I
things
agree.
to do in the world.
I agree. And then we need to be more allied with Russia against China and the rest of the world, in my opinion,
Yes,
over time.
absolutely.
So, sir, thank you very much. I really appreciate having your insight, and we'll be right back. We're going to have Martin Elizalde, who's going to talk about tariffs and AI. But thank you, sir. We'll see you
Okay,
again.
Todd. Thank you.